The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. So I want to talk a little bit about the latest Colorado shooting over at Club Q, which is an LBGT Q plus whatever club. I want to talk a little bit about Elon Musk and who he's been unbanning and who's being kept banned, and a little bit about Chris Hemsworth and the Thor quadrology and what's been going on and the thought process between him and Taika Waititi and what's going on with that. But the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the Colorado LBGTQ club shooting. Suspect used legally purchased assault-style rifle. This particular article is from MSN, and let's jump right in. So a 22-year-old has been charged with hate crimes for allegedly killing 5 people and injuring 25 others with a legally purchased assault-style rifle at an LBGTQ nightclub in Colorado, according to officials briefed on the investigation. The suspect, Anderson Lee Aldrich, allegedly began shooting as soon as he walked into Club Q in Colorado Springs late Saturday night. Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez said, "At least 2 people whom authorities described as heroes then confronted Aldrich and fought with him, which saved more lives," police said. Aldrich is facing 5 counts of murder and 5 counts of bias-motivated crime-causing bodily injury, which is Colorado's hate crime law. A second gun was also recovered at the same scene. Police said Aldrich had considerable ammo and was extremely well armed. Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers told Good Morning America on Monday. So from what I understand about charges, obviously these are allegations. These charges are basically the list of things that are going to be against a person, basically saying, hey, we believe you did this. We're going to take you to court. We're going to charge you for these things. And then they go to trial, more than likely. And they have to have, jury of their peers and all that stuff, and try to figure out if this person is guilty or not guilty of these particular charges. They'll go through each one, and obviously the jury's going to figure out whether they believe this person is guilty or not guilty on those charges. And then, of course, the judge will rule as far as what this person is the disciplinary action, the convictions this person is going to go through, and the consequences of their actions. And so what's interesting is, for me anyways, as I've read through this article, is it doesn't really articulate why this person is alleged of murdering these people due to, a hate crime. I think the term hate speech and hate crime are very loose as far as their definitions. I mean, it's really difficult to get anybody who says they understand, these terms and these things, and it's difficult to get a real straight answer as to what it actually means, and if it is something that just outwardly can just say, oh, well, if somebody does something bad against somebody because of their sex, because of their orientation, because of their skin color, it's automatically a hate crime, which I kind of disagree with that, because I kind of feel that there needs to be some objective evidence to point that way or another, whether this person has created a manifesto, against LBGT individuals, or whether this person has a lot of posts on social media, saying hateful and negative things towards, LBGT people. If we had ample things like that, okay, we could probably consider this person is doing this for nefarious reasons against these kinds of people. Even saying, hey, oh yeah, I'm going to go and shoot up these clubs, and, I don't like these people. If they're saying those things, then it is pretty objectively determining that person is definitely hateful towards those people. But what's interesting is I've read this article, I swear, 2 or 3 times just to make sure, And other than the fact that this person shot up the Q Club, which is known as LBGT, Safe Haven, and I think it's a bar in Colorado where these individuals can go to, there's not really any other evidence pointing to whether this person is doing this for hateful reasons or not. And so whether that allegation is going to stick, I don't know. Always, these are all allegations. These people and individuals are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, which is, how our justice system works. So some of the things that I'm really happy about, the things that we just read from this article, is I'm really glad that there were a few individuals, they said between like 2 or more people, that decided that they were willing to get involved and stop the shooter from going further on this rampage, killing 5 individuals. And I can't help but to think that if they had personal firearms on the premises, that they could have stopped this person faster and saving more lives. Sometimes the only way to fight fire is with fire. And I think in an instance where you are in a life or death situation, I think obviously having firearms to definitely retaliate against the person who is firing onto these bystanders who are obviously innocent in this whole debacle. I just kind of think of how things could have been different if these individuals did have not only a safe way to get through this process and the things that are going on in this situation, but also had the firearms to fire back and hopefully ward off this individual from taking more life. I mean, unfortunately, 5 were killed and 25 were injured. It could have been a lot worse. And so I'm very grateful for these individuals who jumped in. More than likely, they probably didn't even have any firearms on them to fire back. But I can't help to think of how many more individuals I could have saved if they were properly armed and they were properly taught and they're properly trained to safely execute safely to protect these other people with firearms. Now, me as an individual, I mean, I definitely want to purchase a firearm. I currently do not have one. However, I did grow up around firearms, especially rifles, especially handguns, shotguns, all the way up to like 12 gauge and 30-06, which is a very high caliber hunting rifle, all the way down to a 22 rifle and a 9mm handgun and 40 millimeter handgun as well. Now, what I've been thinking about, purchasing a firearm, and I think I will sometime here in the near future. The reason I want to have that is because police are not fast enough to get to your home from wherever they're at the time. Most officers are on the beat. They're all, helping with traffic tickets. They're, helping with individuals who are having issues at home, or they're taking reports. So these individuals are usually out and not just sitting, at the police station waiting for something to happen so they can just gear up and just jump in the vehicle and go. And most of these different special groups like SWAT and stuff like that, they're usually individuals from that precinct who are already, on the beat and working on the job. And so a lot of times these officers take time to get from one place to another. And the sad thing is that a lot can be done, in 30 seconds, especially if you do have a rapid fire, automatic weapon that can spit out a lot of rounds very, very quickly. And so that's why I believe very strongly myself personally that people should have some way to protect themselves while they're at home, whether they have, a shotgun, a fire, a handgun, whatever they think is necessary to protect themselves. I think that's really up to the individual to kind of figure out what they're doing, but definitely go through some training, definitely go to the range and go and shoot and practice and make sure that you can execute it, reasonably. And then hopefully in the event where, danger does occur, able to execute it, very safely and able to save lives because of it. I think there's a lot less shootings at different places around the world that are more pro-gun and more protective of themselves and their property and those around them. And I mean, even growing up and finding out, like even in the congregation I was in years back, it actually made me feel safer knowing that a few of the clergy, were packing, were concealed carrying, because at that time, there was starting to be a rise of shootings at at churches and stuff like that, in addition to other places. And so I definitely feel safer around, individuals that are properly carrying and safely. And I feel like we have an understanding that those individuals that are concealed carrying and open carrying, that they're going to come to your aid when something occurs. And I hope and I pray that obviously I don't ever have to be in that situation where I have to take somebody's life in place of protecting myself or my wife or family or those around me. But I like to think that, when I do get to that point where I do purchase that firearm and I do have my concealed carry and I am carrying it, not on the job, obviously I can't do that. But out and about, shopping and stuff like that. I just would hope and pray that I will be in a sound mind and in a place where I can, where I can do that and act accordingly. So Aldrich was injured and remains in the hospital, police said. When he is released to authorities, will be determined by medical personnel, Castro said. The court has sealed the arrest warrant and supporting documents connected with Aldrich's arrest, according to the motion by prosecutors. If the records were released, it could jeopardize ongoing investigation. The first 911 call came in at 11:56 Saturday, and an officer was dispatched to the scene seconds later. Lieutenant Pamela Castro, spokesperson for the Colorado Springs Police Department, told reporters. The first officer arrived at midnight, and the suspect was detained by 12:02 a.m. Castro said bartender Michael Anderson told ABC News he heard pops, and when he looked up, he saw the shadow of a grown man wielding a rifle. Anderson said that he ducked down and heard glass shatter and bottles break, and he said he ran outside to the patio to hide. It was absolute chaos. People were running, screaming, and the screaming intensified as people became aware of what was happening, he said. No one ever expected that here. I'm haunted by some of the things I saw, he said. So this is exactly what I was talking about, I mean, yeah, the police got there quickly, within, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 4, 5, 6, within 6 minutes. That's pretty good, time. By then, of course, the damage had already been done. The individuals that stepped in was able to stop them and, hold them there until the police got there. So, I mean, the active shooter part was already taken care of before the officers even got there. And this is kind of the pattern that we see over and over again. And so that's why it's really important to me that, individuals who feel like they could safely do these things, we encourage them to do it because there's nobody else that's going to stop them. This is why I feel very, very strongly about arming our staff and teachers at schools. I really feel very strongly about that they could stop an active shooter a lot faster than the police can even get there. And within the wake of some of these other shootings that happened, what happened to the last school shootings, the police waited 70 minutes before even going inside. By then, the damage is already done. The shooting's already over, and the person already took their life. And the thing that I kind of wanted to point out here is that, I think the first thing I want to say with this particular part is that any shooting is sad. And it's unfortunate, and no one wants to open up their laptops or jump on their news feed on their smartphone and see these things. It's very, very sad. It's unfortunate. Nobody wants these things to happen. However, they do happen. And it's a huge punch in the gut. to think about the pain and the suffering of the families and friends of these individuals who are going through these things, who have lost their lives or even injured. And my heart does go out to them. And my thoughts and prayers are obviously with you all. It's really sad. But I often think that these shootings, and sadly many happen in gun-free zones. Like, how many times do we hear about school shootings? How many times do we hear, about different office buildings and stuff? Like, these different areas that are supposed to be gun-free zones are the ones that seemingly are being targeted by people who are shooters. And I think something to talk about as well is from the beginning of this article, where it talks about that this particular person did purchase an AR style rifle, which is Armor Light, just short for Armor Light. Purchased one of these rifles legally. And we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go down a little bit farther. But the time this is where I kind of want to talk about the time that I witnessed somebody shooting. This is a time when I was installing security cameras in Cleveland, Ohio area, and where someone began shooting in a group of kids, only a front lawn like separating me and my colleagues. Like, we were a group of us, like each of us were like one in each house, kind of next to each other, and we're both installing security cameras and security system. And there's just a group of kids outside sitting on a car or behind a truck or something like that, and they're all they're just talking and having a good time, and we didn't think anything of it because they were just kind of chilling and doing whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, raised voices started to happen, and then all of a sudden, like, you could see the flashes, from the muzzle. It was clearly a handgun because I could see the guy walking down the street by himself because everybody else ran and scattered. And so basically, luckily this person, took their firearm, just walked down the street, and I'm super grateful that he didn't come towards the homes that we were at. But we all jumped into the house, including the homeowners, and we locked the doors, and we laid down on the floor and we waited. We waited until the police drove by. I think it was like 15 or 20 minutes later, a cop car rode by, no lights, no sirens, no nothing. And although nothing happened, like, I don't think anybody was hurt, I'm pretty sure. Like, we didn't see anything in the news or anything, so I don't think anybody was shot or anything. But in the end, it was a haunting feeling, and I still keep that feeling to me today. And I often, think about that time. It was really scary. Like, it really was. And I just think that that's only, a reflection or even a facsimile of what these individuals have endured and these families have endured. And it's not something that I could completely understand. And I can only think, in my mind of how that would be. And it's scary. It really is. Aldrich was arrested in June 2021. This is the shooter they're talking about, due to a bomb threat incident after the El Paso County Sheriff's Office was alerted that he was in possession of a homemade bomb. Law enforcement officers briefed on the investigation told ABC News. He was charged with 2 counts of felony menacing and 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping, but no explosives were found in his home, Colorado Springs radio station KRDO reported. Aldrich's 2021 arrest may not have appeared on the background checks because the case does not appear to have been adjudicated or finalized, given a sentence, according to officials briefed on the investigation. Colorado's red flag law, which went into effect in 2020, allows relatives, household members, and law enforcement to ask a judge to order the seizure of a gun owner's weapons if that owner is believed to be a risk to themselves or others. It is unclear whether the law would have stopped the suspect from targeting the club in El Paso County Sheriff Bill, Elder told ABC News. Elder did not recall the circumstances surrounding Aldrich's 2021 arrest. He said, Club Q is a safe haven for the LBGT community, the police chief said. The club hosted a weekly drag show and live DJ on Saturday nights, according to its website. The owner of Club Q, Nick, I'll probably mess up your name, I apologize, Gerzeka, told ABC News why they didn't recognize the suspect and had never seen him inside their business. Active shooter protocol was also activated. Grzeka said, which is something Club Q has had in place since 2016. Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida. Oh, since that shooting. So what's interesting is that this particular shooter did have charges against them from another incident, but a final ruling had not been created. So this goes to show that no law or policy put in place is going to be perfect, as well as the new red flag laws was unable to catch things in time, or more than likely, family or friends of the accused did not see him as a threat to themselves or others at the time, which actually makes me wonder if they reasonably really thought that this person had a homemade explosive at their home, and maybe it was just a misunderstanding, and so they're trying to figure that out, and maybe this particular thing was going to get tossed out. However, if this is the case where yes, there is something going on, and yes, they did have something, and this is possibly a precursor to what happened at this place, it's definitely safe to say that unfortunately the laws didn't work as intended, and this is where I strongly believe that although some laws can help individuals from possessing these firearms legally, it's usually through illegal means that these firearms are because those that are perpetrators, those who are murderers and stuff, they don't see the laws and these different policies and stuff that we have here for our country. They don't, or even our states, they don't see them as something that applies to them. This is why I feel like it's very important to be able to protect yourself in these kinds of incidences. And although I'm very proud that this night club owner had an active shooter plan in place, that's still only going to do so much. And unfortunately, this is kind of one of those things where you need to fight fire with fire. And so if somebody is an active shooter, the only way to take an active shooter down, unfortunately, probably to have the same force directed at them. And so I really do believe that we should have more establishments have more protection for themselves. I think supermarkets should also have these things in place. And I think there should be individuals who can go through different training. I mean, you only need, I think, as much training as an armed guard would need. I think that's maybe 3 8-hour sessions, as well as a good, 3 or 4 hours of shooting practice and monthly shooting practice. And I think an individual could safely, operate a firearm in a way to protect others. And I think it just really sucks that not more people were saved in this process of this particular shooting. But again, I still do commend the owners and the individuals that jumped in on this. I think that's still a very virtuous thing. I think it's a very heroic thing, and I think it's really beautiful that there was some good that came out of this. And unfortunately, while we're talking about the bad, although on a personal note, I personally wouldn't attend a drag show, but I'm assuming since this is a club and bar, that they obviously host these things for adults and not for children, because that's really important to me. So our prayers and thoughts are with all the victims and their families and friends, the club said in a statement posted on Facebook. We thank the quick reaction of heroic customers that subdued the gunman and ended this hate attack. The shooting unfolded on the eve of the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance. Current president said in a statement that the LBGT community has been subjected to horrific hate violence in recent years, drawing comparisons on the Pulse nightclub shooting. Places that are supposed to be safe spaces for acceptance and celebration should never be turned into places of terror and violence. Yet it happens far too often. We must drive out the iniquities that contribute to violence against LBGT people. We cannot and must not tolerate hate. Colorado Senator John Hickenlooper, I think I said that right, tweeted that the LBGT community needs to be protected from this hate. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet tweeted that he was sending strength to those who were injured and survivors in Colorado's LBGT community. We seek justice for this unimaginable act. We must do more to protect the LBGT community and stand firm against discrimination and hate in every form. Our hearts are broken for the victims of the horrific tragedy in Colorado Springs and their loved ones. GLAAD President and CEO Sarah K. Ellis said in a statement Sunday, "This unspeakable attack has robbed countless people of their friends and family and an entire community's sense of safety. You can draw a straight line from the false and vile rhetoric about LBGT people spread by extremists and amplified across social media to the nearly 300 anti-LBGT bills introduced this year to the dozens of attacks in our community like this one." Governor Jairus Polois said, "My heart breaks for the family and friends of those lost, injured, and traumatized." I think we can all agree that it's sad and it's unfortunate. So these attacks sadden all who hear them. I feel pride in those individuals who risked their lives and stopped the shooter before even more were shot and killed or even harmed. And I think it's time to think about these individuals and encourage them to protect themselves with firearms. As much as we see these horrific shootings, there are countless survivors and even saviors who were able to stop others, but they do not get into the mainstream media, and I wish they did. All these things should be equal. Shouldn't we hear about the heroes who save people with their legal firearms? And that's something, that's something that just we don't see. We don't see a lot of individuals who have protected others because they legally owned firearms, because they took shooting practice, because they always carried it with them, and they have been able to save, other people because of this. The only thing that we see is the tragedy, unfortunately. And I don't know if that's by design or not. And, we could discuss whether it's by design or not, whether only the horrific shootings are the things that we see, and only the things about, hey, we need better gun laws and we need to take more guns away from people and things like that. And I think the exact opposite. I think that there should be more people who are willing to protect themselves by force, because once force comes upon them, hopefully they can act and do well in protecting those and others. But yeah, it's a really sad tale, unfortunately, and I wish I had more energy around it, but I just really don't, because it's really sad. And a lot of the LBGT people have been, unfortunately, like I was just looking up at the different instances that have happened even since the 1970s, where gay clubs and stuff were raided. There's been a lot of things, bad things towards people who have decided to have a different sexuality than what we consider the norm. And having friends, growing up and having friends even now that are adult friends in my life, my heart goes out to them. It's a hard life, especially when you're out of the cultural norm. And although I believe that, family norms are important, I still think that individuals who are gay and lesbian, they should have, their own lives and be able to, be married. And whether you need to change the label of marriage and call it civil union or reunification or whatever, I still think the government should be out of marriage completely. And this is just something that civilly should be done. And then you marry for life. That's something that, we shouldn't be, we shouldn't look at something that we should scoff at. It should be something that's important. It should be something that we should be celebrated for. And for individuals who are able to stay together, longer than, the 5, 8 year or 10 year, steps that people have in their lives, and they're able to get over these pretty large hurdles that happen, they should be commended for it. And I think it's beautiful when you meet people who are like, oh yeah, we were high school sweethearts and we were married for 60 years. Like, I think that's always such a beautiful story. And, I just wish that people would take a lot more care and be more careful about who they marry. And, unfortunately we're at that point now where it's kind of a coin toss whether you stay married or not. But I think if two individuals really do love and care about each other, and they've really thought out if this person's going to be in their life forever, and they had enough time to live with them for a while, really get to know them before you kind of sealed the deal, I think I would have a lot less, issues having with divorce and stuff like that. But, I digress. So in seeming dig at Taika Waititi, Thor star Chris Hemsworth, says he refuses to work with any more mad genius directors. So, in an apparent but plausibly deniable dig against Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi, I think I'm saying that right, franchise star Chris Hemsworth has said that not only will he no longer work with any mad genius directors, but that he is also only interested in returning as the God of Thunder if there is something unique and fresh and unexpected to do with the character and the world. If there's anyone who has been privy to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's tendency to ruin its characters in service of cheap laughs, it's the Thor quadrilogy star Chris Hemsworth. From retreading the exact same "I must find myself" plotline across nearly every one of his appearances, to being demoted from the royal prince of a powerful kingdom to walking occasional hammer-swinging laughingstock, Hemsworth's Thor has truly embodied the studio's post-Infinity War inability to treat its characters with any semblance of respect or care. Given his bastardization of what was once presented as one of the MCU's most dedicated heroes, it comes to no surprise that the actor has recently found himself becoming more discerning the selections of his roles. I think this is something that we are seeing more and more happen. Most recently, the recent descent from the franchise was Henry Cavill, who stepped down from being the lead Geralt in the Netflix Witcher series, claiming that he would only return if they decide to stick closer to the character from the books. Now, I commend these individuals in Hollywood who are doing their best to kick against the pricks, and also known as woke ideologues. They really did the character dirty in the last two renditions of the Thor quadrilogy, making a mockery of the character and Love and Thunder being centered around a child rather than the God of Thunder himself. It's just safe to say that Disney and Marvel, they've decided to go with different directors, different writers. It's clear that they have completely leaned very hard, put their shoulder to the wheel, as they said, to lean hard into this woke ideology that we're seeing that's being very prevalent in the film and TV series industry. And my wife and I, we've saw, these last few renditions and these last few movies that have come out post Infinity War, which has been kind of like the apex and the climax of the Infinity War series, movie series. And it's just sad because these films and movies and these characters that are very beloved are now kind of put through the ringer and now a laughingstock. I mean, even looking at the last Doctor Strange film that came out, it just wasn't Doctor Strange anymore. It was just, here's our woke ideologies with Marvel characters, and oh boy, isn't this interesting? You should like this, and if you don't like it, it's not for you. Kind of talking about the whole Black Panther Wakanda Forever film that recently came out. I just don't think. And this is sad too, because the lead of the Black Panther movie did a really great job, and unfortunately he passed away due to cancer, I believe is what happened. But I really believe we're going to see more and more of these big A-list name actors just walking away from franchises and from big movies and turning down a lot of money because they just want to create really good stories and really good characters, and they want to have something that's beautiful and wonderful and tells a great story and has great character progression and great secondary characters and supporting actors. Like they just want to create good stories. And so it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how a lot of these big names are going to start kind of going the wayside, and people are going to start turning down stuff like this. I think it's going to happen more and more often. We got Henry Cavill. We got seemingly we got Chris Hemsworth. You could also say that Chris Pratt is definitely somebody who is, who definitely is escaping the wokeisms of the world. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next, I want to say 3 to 5 years, going into the 2025 and 2030s. It's going to be interesting to see where movies are here in the next little while. Hopefully we'll do a 180 and the pendulum will swing a little bit, maybe center of the right to the other side, and we can have good movies once again. Speaking with Vanity Fair in the wake of the discovery that has revealed in the fifth episode of his Disney Plus series Limitless, he is genetically excuse me, I'm so sorry, everybody. Didn't mean to make your ears bleed. He is genetically predisposed to Alzheimer's disease. Hemsworth was asked by outlet writer Anthony Beziniken if these experiences focused on longevity changed the way you plan your own future, to which the actor confirmed 100%. I'm just at the point in my life where I'm meeting with different directors and people say, oh yeah, look, he's a mad genius, said Hemsworth. He's mad, but he's a genius and he'll make great films. I'm like, is that who I want to spend my days with? 4 months, 5 months of shooting, and when you've got press and possible reshoots and so on? Though Hemsworth did not name any names, given the director's reputation for caring more about subverting expectations than delivering a coherent story, his active disregard for quality control of his own films is presumed that the actor's new project vetting process was born from his experience working with the aforementioned Waititi. This theory is further supported by the fact that of the directors who most recently worked with Hemsworth, Waititi is far and wide the most eccentric of the group. One would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would earnestly describe well-regarded creatives like Drew Goddard, The Cabin in the Woods, Bad Times, and El Royale, F. Gary Gray, The Italian Job, Men in Black International, and Joseph Kowalski, Top Gun, Maverick, and Spiderhead as Mad. This theory is further supported by the fact that of the directors to most recently work with Hemsworth, Waititi is far and wide the most eccentric of the group. One would hard-press to find anyone who would earnestly describe well-regarded creatives like Drew Goddard, Gary Gray, and Joseph Krasinski as Mad. I think I accidentally said that twice. My apologies. I think it sucks that some of these actors get locked into these contracts, and even though they change directors on them, they still don't have a say. It would be better for contracting if they change directors. They can choose if they want to continue with the project or not. Sure, that may hurt recasting, etc., but I think sometimes we forget that actors are people too, and they want to work with the best people in the industry. And I think we're starting to see that, where individuals are more worried about what kind of relationship they're going to have with this director, what kind of relationship they're going to have, with the filmographer, what kind of, relationships they're going to have with wardrobe and makeup, and they're starting to become more worried, I believe, about having good people around them rather than thinking that they have the best name under the project. And I think that's something that's really important to think about. So on the topic of Miller specifically, Hemsworth asserted that while he certainly was a genius, he was not the mad type. Miller is a director who is very aware of how his energy affects others and how he has the power to make your day fantastic or shitty and chooses for it to be a positive experience, explained the actor. The whole crew, everyone is in a better mood. It baffles me that some people in that position don't understand that. As would be expected of any interview with a Marvel star, the conversation eventually turned to his future in the MCU. Met with an inquiry of, is there more Thor in the future? From Brosnan, Hemsworth admitted, I don't know. I think there'd be more to say if the people want to hear me say it. They always tease more at the end of their movies, said the actor. Look, I'm completely open for it. If there is something unique and fresh and unexpected to do with the character and the world. I've always loved the experience, he said. I've been very thankful. I've been able to do something different each time. Speculating as to that future outing could hold for the Oslin Hemsworth opined. opined? I'm not sure what that word is. Maybe it should be opinioned. I feel like we'd probably have to close the book if I ever did it again. You know what I mean? I feel it probably warrants that, he continued. I feel like it's probably be the finale, but that's not based on anything anyone's told me or any sort of plans. You have this birth of a hero, the journey of a hero, and then the death of a hero. And I don't know if I'm at that stage, Hemsworth concluded. Who knows? So here's some positive constructions that could happen out of these things that have been happening with these different individuals and wanting to have good directors and just be around good people. I think as humans, that's something that we very much desire. I think it's clear that needs to be a change in Hollywood. And as of late, I am sensing that change may be coming sooner rather than later. With big stars leaving big franchises, I see a brighter future for actors in the coming years, doing better projects and rebooting better IPs and getting the directors and writers only one could dream of. But I only think it'll work if the woke narratives are left in the wayside. And I really truly believe that. I really don't think it's even wonderful to have, the rhetoric from the right being pushed hard in films. Like, I really believe it should just focus on telling a good story. And if some of those things are slipped into it and they just help progress the story, yeah, sure, I could probably get behind it. Like, just like I talk about Schitt's Creek all the time and the way that the story and the characters developed with that. Like, I can get behind it if you can walk me through the development of the characters. Like, it would be like, putting a kissing scene between Thor and his brother. It's just like, why would you put that in there? It doesn't make sense. You haven't developed the characters. You haven't developed their relationship. It's like, how is that supposed to make sense to anybody? I think there is a greater future when it comes to these kinds of things. And I really do believe that we need to remind ourselves that these individuals are people as well. I think it's really important to kind of be cognizant about what, individuals that are doing that are popular. I think it was really fun when my friend and I were waiting for my mother to come home. We're at Phoenix LAX or Phoenix International or something like that. And Joe Montana, I believe it was, walked by us. And we just like, hey, Joe. We didn't have like cameras and stuff back then because we were younger, but or smartphones with cameras and stuff like that. And I think we just walked up to him, just said, hey, just wanted to shake your hand. And, and it was actually pretty cool for my friend because he was a fan. And then I also got to meet Robin, from the lead singer from the Gym Blossoms. I got to shake his hand and he gave me a tour of his studio, out in Mesa. I think it's still there. I don't know if it is or not, but it's just like, you got to remember these people are people too. Like, I wouldn't want to like go up, Joe Rogan while he's eating with his family and be like, hey, Joe, big fan, give me pictures. Like, come, no, like, we don't want to treat people like that. That's really unfortunate. So let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has been unbanning people. He's been firing a lot of people over there at the Twitterverse, and seemingly he's going to keep some people banned, which is kind of interesting. We'd like to dive into this topic here really quick and let you guys get on your way here in just a few minutes. So Elon Musk has begun yet another controversial policy change at Twitter, unbanning many of the people that the site once banned. Even before he bought and took over the company, Mr. Musk made clear that one of his main focuses would be on free speech. As part of that, he just suggested that previously banned accounts may be allowed back on the platform. In the time since, he has suggested that we will focus on freedom reach rather than of speech. As such, he intends to limit the amount of a certain tweet is shown, but not necessarily ban the account that posts them. It's very interesting, especially since Elon Musk has been, touting that he wants to make the Twitterverse, something different. But I think freedom of speech is very important. And although Elon Musk is focused on having the Twitter platform as the new town square, I am wondering myself if the changing of hands was the wisest or not. Only time will tell. I had a conversation with someone just recently, and they were telling me that the Twitter has been is being destroyed. Twitter is still here. Some individuals, are on it still, and some individuals are not. But I think it can be a slippery slope to go on to this as whether a certain tweet should be shown less or more. Who will be the morality police in all of this? This is my question as to which tweet is good or bad. Haven't we already had a bad taste in our mouths from those kinds of shenanigans on Facebook and YouTube? And since we kind of have this whole conspiracy theory that there is shadow banning and there's some individuals at these different platforms throttling a lot of these different people on one side or the other, just basically people who they don't believe are saying things that they like to see or hearing things that they like to say, do the wrong thing as they say. So I just don't know if this is the right way to go. And I think there's some shenanigans going on even on this YouTube channel. Like I really wonder what's going on in the background, because like I've been releasing a lot of content, and we've had some of our stuff like do really, really well, and some of them are getting like 100 views, and especially some of the shorts I've been doing, even some of our episodes, making it up there. But it's like every time I talk about things like the Second Amendment, or if I have stuff in the title, like for instance, if I have the former president, but if I have the current president and I say good things about the president, then it seems like it does well. And then if I don't, it's like, nope, sorry, it doesn't seem like it goes out as much. And that could be the viewership of the current climate, or it could not be. It's very, very possible that these algorithms are finding certain phrases or certain words that are within your content and going, this is not something that we want on our platform, so therefore we're not going to push your stuff out. And that's something that's really interesting. I have a short that I just put out, and I thought it was going to do really, really good, and it didn't. It did pretty poorly. Had one that talked about God of War Ragnarok, which is pretty big and recent right now, and that didn't even get 100 views. And I've done some. I talked about the Black Panther movie, I talked about Henry Cavill, and those things got over 1,000 views. So there's like, I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm almost fighting the algorithm rather than, my stuff getting pushed out to individuals that might want to watch the content. Now this is my aluminum foil hat I'm wearing here, but whether that's the case or not, I just don't know. But when things like this come out and they say, oh yeah, we're going to start, focusing on freedom of reach, where certain, tweets are going to be deemed, oh, these aren't appropriate, so we're not going to push these out. Again, that's a very slippery slope, unless like there's a way to be very definitive and very objective about, whether they're saying something that's, inciting violence, that literally is inciting violence, or saying they're going to perpetrate violence on somebody. And you could also say that in images, which is, why Kathy Griffith was somebody who, was, removed from Twitter, having severed heads of the former president and stuff. I feel like that's a fairly blatant call to violence, in my opinion. But I digress. I don't know what's the right way to do it. I don't know. There's a very, very fine line between, censorship and tyranny, it seems. We just want to make sure that everything's done, well. So he has now firmly begun that process, revoking the bans of a number of celebrities. The most controversial is likely to be Donald Trump, though there are plenty more besides. Over the weekend, he tweeted that he brought back Kathy Griffith, Jordan Peterson, and Babylon Bee, misspelling the names of the first two people and naming the initiative Freedom Fridays. Mr. Musk has previously, of course, that's something they had to point out. I don't know why. It's like they unbanned these people. It's like that should be the focus. Mr. Musk had previously suggested that such moderation decisions would go through a council who would have the ultimate decision on the reversal of those bans. He has yet to indicate whether the new policy changes did in fact go through that process. Some of those who have access to their accounts again have refused to come back, including the former president, but others have already made the most of their new status, posting celebratory tweets after coming back online. Many high-profile banned accounts remain suspended, however. Those include Alex Jones, a controversial TV star, who Mr. Musk said he will never allow back on the platform because of his comments about the deaths of children. Which I think is really interesting, because this is from somebody who feels very strongly about freedom of speech and how, I don't know if he's an absolutist or not, although there are some, on the right who feel that absolute, freedom of speech is something that should be practiced. I'm kind of on the fence on that. I kind of feel like there are some things that you shouldn't be allowed to say, as well as, using, imagery and words to encourage those to harm other people outright. And obviously it needs to be objective and demonstrative. Like you can actually see, that person saying and doing things that you could definitely agree that it's bad. But I think it's a sad day for people like Alex Jones and others, I'm sure, that haven't been unbanned, who have for years since have had bad takes. In this instance, Alex Jones had a really bad take on Sandy Hook, and he has repeatedly apologized for his mishap. And he still has not seen the light, as these other celebrities have recently been given. Now, I like to think we live in a society where people can have a second chance, or even a third chance, or a fourth chance, or, however chances they need. But yeah, I understand at some point you gotta say, well, this is a line, you've crossed it, and unfortunately we can't let you back on. And I understand that, and I get that. And I get, Elon has definitely some very harsh feelings against, Mr. Jones. But I think if he's going to unban a lot of these other people, it just seems like it's very disingenuous, especially somebody who has profusely apologized, who has had, millions of dollars, taken from him because he no longer is allowed on these different platforms. And I don't know. I just believe that maybe he could have had a second chance and could have just said, hey, we're going to unban you. You're not allowed to talk about Sandy Hook stuff anymore. And maybe he could have come back. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Should he have come back? Should he have unbanned Alex Jones? I don't know. So here are the most high-profile accounts that have been restored so far. Donald Trump. The then ongoing president was banned from Twitter in January 2021 amid fears he would use it to incite violence. He has struggled to communicate with the public since, though he has been posting on an alternate. I don't know. I think I copied some of this called Truth Social over the last year. I can't talk. Ever since Mr. Musk took over Twitter, there has been speculation that his account would come back. For some time, both the Twitter head and former president remained quiet on that future. Over the weekend, however, Mr. Musk posted a poll asking users whether the former president's account should be reinstated. A day later, 51% of votes, actually it was 52%, had been in favor of bringing him back, and so his account began to be revived. But Mr. Trump has not posted. It might not do so. He has repeatedly said that he would prefer to stay on Truth Social, presumably in part because he owns it. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, this is the thing though, is that in the wrong hands, this could be really good, or this could be, or depending on whose hands owns this particular platform, and depending on who has their hands in this council that's apparently supposed to be recreated by Mr. Elon, whether he's going to hire the right people, whether they're going to be focused on freedom of speech, or whether they're going to choose and cherry pick and decide, we don't like this person, so we're going to keep them from being on the platform. So again, only time will tell. Kathy Griffin. The revival of the comedian's account is notable in part because how quickly it has been revived. It was less than a month between the ban and her return, and also the fact that she was banned specifically for making fun of Elon Musk. That's actually not true. Her account was suspended earlier this month when she changed her profile picture and name to that of Elon Musk. That's the reason she got banned. And posted a number of tweets pretending to be him. Her posts were part of a broader campaign to protest against Mr. Musk's ownership and pointing out the problems of identity verification on the site. No, that's not true. She just wanted to poke fun at him and, give him a reason to take her off. That's what really happened. But Mr. Musk quickly banned her and said that accounts that were impersonating others needed to be explicitly specify that they were doing so as a parody. That led him not only to ban Griffin, but to change the site's policy too. However, her account is now back online, but like Donald Trump, she does not seem to want to use it. According to a post on Mastodon, a newly popular Twitter alternative, Dear Space Karen, she posted using a popular mocking name for Mr. Musk. No thanks. Really, and I thought her posts on severed heads and stuff was bannable in my opinion, but I digress. Jordan Peterson. The academic and writer was banned from Twitter this summer when he refused to use the correct name for actor Elliot Page. Peterson was sanctioned under Twitter's hateful policy rules and posted a long YouTube video in which he said he would have to be killed before he deleted the tweet. Since then, Mr. Musk, who was in the past mocked the idea of using people's chosen pronouns himself, said that Peterson's account would be returned. In recent days, it is back online. Unlike Griffin and Trump, Peterson is one of the new returns to be making the most of his return to the site. He has posted prolifically in the days since he got his account back and celebrated with a grateful post to Mr. Musk. The Babylon Bee. This is one I'm not really familiar with. As in the case of Peterson, the Twitter account of conservative satirical news source The Babylon Bee was originally banned for a transphobic post. It was kicked off the site in March after it posted tweets that misgendered U.S. Assistant Secretary of Health Rachel Levine. Mr. Musk had discussed the return of the outlet during his preparations to buy the company, as shown in texts that were released as part of court proceedings. On Friday, he said that he would return. In celebration of the return of an apparent reference to Mr. Musk's early days as owner of Twitter, in which he took a sink in the company's San Francisco offices as part of a joke. Let that sink in. That's funny. I have a hard time with satire. Even movies that are satirical, for some reason, my brain just doesn't understand or get it. I don't know if that's because of some different misfirings or miswirings or, maybe past trauma. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I don't get satire. I struggle with it. Andrew Tate, the controversial YouTube star and kickboxer, has also been delighting in having his account back, posting repeatedly in the time since it was returned from suspension. Tate has proven controversial in recent months, which has led to him being banned from other platforms such as YouTube, but his ban from Twitter is actually much older. It was done in 2017 when he posted that women should bear some responsibility of sexual assaults. The account is now back online after Mr. Musk revived it. Though his older posts were not available on it, his first post after the suspension appeared to be celebrating his own return. Interesting. Kanye West. The rapper and designer's Twitter account was locked last month after he sent anti-Semitic, quote-unquote, tweets in which he posted that he was going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. His profile has been visible in the time since, though he has not posted. On Sunday evening, he sent a new tweet apparently indicating that he would be coming back to the platform. It's been very, very interesting topics today, although it is still to say whether Elon Musk has saved or destroyed the Twitterverse. But it is safe to say that there are some things going in the right direction, such as not banning needlessly on accounts, possibly throttling bad Twitter posts instead of banning and seeing them less often, as well as allowing those that were banned to return. As we say, only time will tell. And from my family to yours, good night. Today's video is sponsored by viewers like you, so thank you. If we earned your subscription today, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, click that damn bell, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a content release. The best way to support the channel is to like this video, share it with family and friends, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. Send all of your topic ideas, articles, and video links to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. All of our links are in the description down below.